In this first lesson, we'll learn about UV context projection node. We'll continue to do so in the next lesson as well. It's a very important new feature and fundamentally changes the way we create and build our materials and shading networks. The UV context projection node is a utility node designed to centralize and unify texture mapping across multiple texture inputs in a material. Instead of manually tweaking every texture's UV transform individually, this node lets you control projection type, scale, rotation, offset, and tiling from one place and have those settings applied consistently to all connected textures. This is especially helpful when working with materials that use multiple maps like diffuse, roughness, normal, displacement, that all need to align perfectly. Let's start an interactive render. Hey folks, welcome to MoGraph Plus. This video is a free sample from our course, Redshift Masterclass, your complete guide to Redshift for Cinema 4D. It's a massive 19-hour long course in which we explore all the aspects of Redshift for Cinema 4D thoroughly. Make sure to check it out. The link is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. Here I have this wood material applied to this plane, and you notice we have a base color map, a roughness map, a normal map, and a displacement map. They need to be mapped and aligned perfectly for the final material to look correct. We can go ahead and adjust the tiling, offset, rotation, and scale for each one of them individually. But up until now, if we wanted to collectively control them, we had to use workarounds like using a custom value node for each of the different mapping inputs, like we did in the How to Basic Shader lesson in the material section of the course. But now we can use the UV context projection node. Let's press C, and from the utility nodes, add a UV context projection node. If I select any of the textures, maybe the base color, you notice it has a new UV context input. Let's expose it. The next step would be to connect the UV context node to the UV context input of the texture. So let's do so. We don't necessarily need to expose the inputs for the roughness, normal, and displacement maps. Let's just drag the output of the UV context node onto these maps, and this will automatically connect it to the right input. Now I can select the UV context node and control the mapping for all of these textures at once. For example, let's increase tiling to 2. Now all the textures are tiled twice, or I can rotate them for 45 degrees and so on. It's a very powerful node. Now there are two main ways a texture can receive the UV context projection data: direct connections and downstream connections. Direct connections is when a UV context node is connected directly to a texture's UV context port. That's what we have right now. But what about downstream connections? If I select the OpenPBR material and head over to the advanced section, you notice at the very bottom there is a UV context port. The output node as well has a UV context port, as well as the displacement node. Even though we don't have it here, but the standard material has a UV context port as well. If I delete this UV context node and add a new one, and connect it directly to the UV context input of the output node. Let me increase the tiling to 2 and rotation to 45 degrees. Now we have the same exact result as before, but through a downstream connection. So our textures automatically inherit the projection information if the UV context projection node is connected downstream in the shader graph. Basically, upstream textures pick up the mapping from a UV context node connected later in the graph. Because we connected the UV context node to the output node, all the upstream textures will inherit mapping information from it. But if I want all the textures that are connected to the OpenPBR material, so only the textures that are connected to the OpenPBR material to inherit the projection, but not the displacement texture. So I'm going to do that. Let's disconnect the UV context node first and just drag its output onto the OpenPBR material. Now all the textures that are connected to this OpenPBR material will inherit the mapping from the UV context node, and because the displacement texture is connected to the output node through a displacement node, it won't inherit the mapping. That's why you notice the displacements mapping is not aligned with the rest of the textures. Currently, there is one map connected to the displacements map, but if there were many through a chain of nodes, for example, and we wanted to control the mapping for all of them at once, we can connect a UV context node to the displacements node. Let's disconnect the UV context node from the OpenPBR material and connect it to the displacements node instead. Now all the upstream textures that are connected to the displacements node will get the mapping from the UV context node. In this case, there is only this one displacement texture. Now the textures connected to the OpenPBR material won't get any mapping information from this UV context node. For now, let's connect the UV context node to the output material, so all the textures would get the mapping from the UV context node. Now, what if I want an upstream texture to not inherit the mapping from the UV context node? Let's add a new texture node and load this BW stain texture. Then add a color layer node. Use the color layer node as the base color input. Now connect the wood base color to the base layer color input of the color layer node and connect the black and white texture to layer 1 color input of the color layer node. And change the blending mode for layer 1 to something like soft light. Now the black and white stain texture also inherits mapping information from the UV context node that is connected to the output node. If we connect a UV context node directly to a texture, it overrides any downstream connections. So let's add a new UV context node. And connect it to the stain texture. As you can see, the stain texture no longer inherits the downstream UV context node. Pretty cool. For now, let me skip the color layer node and connect the original base color wood texture to the material. Now, other than the texture node, there are other nodes that support a direct UV context connection, including brick, flakes, pavement, Maxon noise, scalar ramp, tiles. And as I mentioned, there are 3 nodes with a UV context port that enable downstream connections to all connected textures, including OpenPBR material, standard material, and displacement shader. Now let's take a quick look at the UV context node and some of its options, which are very familiar, as you will find most of these options in a regular texture node or a UV projection node. For that, let's go to the second scene for this lesson. Here we have this checker material applied to these simple shapes. We have a sphere, 2 cubes, and 2 cylinders. Let's open up the material and start a render. Add a new UV context node and hook it up to the output node. Now in the UV context node, first we need to choose the projection type under the UV source section. The default projection type is pass-through. This projection type uses the object's existing UVs from Cinema 4D, including support for the material tags different projection types. So for example, if I select the cylinder's material tag in the object manager and change the projection to frontal, for example, it will be used by the UV context node. Or if I increase the tiling to 10 and 10 here, it will be used by the UV context node. Obviously, we can adjust the tiling on top of these settings in the UV context node as well. For now, let's change the projection type to UVW mapping and lower tiling to 1 in the material tag. Then down here in the UV transform section, where we have the basic UV transform settings like tiling, rotating, offsetting, wrapping, and so on. The next projection type is UV channel, which allows you to explicitly pick a UV set by name using this UV channel path, which is helpful when multiple UVs exist, multiple UV sets. But when the path is left blank, the result is the same as path through. These two were the UV-based projection types. Then we have our procedural-based projection modes. The first one is triplanar. This mode gives us the ability to choose the projection space and have a coordinate section, as well as any specific settings for that particular projection type. So we have triplanar projection, which samples the texture from 3 perpendicular directions or projects the texture from 3 perpendicular directions, then blends the results based on surface orientation and eliminates visible seams caused by poor UVs. Blending and noise controls here allow you to trade precision for organic variation. Let me lower the size to 25 centimeters. The settings are very familiar, and we have talked about triplanar, for example, throughout the course, and the settings are the same here, just in a different node. Now we can take a quick look at the projection space dropdown. When it's set to world, texture remains fixed in the scene and objects moving through it appear to slide under the texture. And when set to object space, texture moves and rotates with the object, which is ideal for most standard assets. And finally, reference object, which is the default setting that keeps your texture stuck to the model so they don't slide around when the object moves or changes shape. Redshift usually finds the right object for you. It also applies the textures before the displacement happens, making sure your colors and patterns line up perfectly with the bumps on the surface. If you focus on the left cylinder with the twist deformer applied to it, as I go through these projection spaces, reference object is the only option where the textures deform with the deformer. Transform source determines the origin of the projection's transform coordinates. When set to shader, coordinates are controlled manually via the transform parameters below using size, position, and rotation parameters. For now, let's set this size to 25 centimeters. And when set to object, coordinates are derived from a selected scene object. This allows you to manipulate the projection's position, rotation, and scale by moving the object specified in the object picker. Let's add a null to the scene. Maybe change its shape to cube. And use it as the transform source. Now I can move and rotate the null to manipulate the projection's position, rotation, and scale. For now, let's change it to shader and make sure the size is set to 25 and zero out position and rotation values. And then obviously we have the specific triplanar options that you can check out the triplanar node lesson in the shading section of the course. Next, we have other projection types. We have cubic, which is similar to triplanar, but without blending between projection axes. We have cylindrical and spherical, in which the textures are projected onto the object using a cylindrical or a spherical shape. Flat, which projects from a single plane and is excellent for decals, stickers, labels, and so on. Spatial projection is comparable to a flat projection, but instead of projecting perpendicular to the surface, the texture is applied at an angular offset, which is usually upward and to the left from a frontal view. Then we have shrink wrap projection, which anchors the texture at the top of the sphere, the North Pole, and wraps it downward until it converges at the base, which is South Pole. The primary advantage of shrink wrap over standard spherical projection is the reduction of seams. It creates a single pinch point at the bottom rather than seams at both poles. For now, let's set it to triplanar. This should be enough to cover the basics of UV context projection node. In the next video, we'll learn about adding randomization when using the UV context projection node. See you there.